I'm Luke Bell, professional triathlete who resides half the year here in Melbourne and the other half the year in San Diego, USA. We're here to discuss the Urban Hotel Group IRONMAN Asia Pacific Championships conducted here in the lovely city of Melbourne, and going to give you a few tips that maybe you might want to look at throughout the day. Last year, as I said, was the inaugural year, and the event was a huge success, and in 2013 the event sold out in around 4 minutes 50, so everyone's quite G'd and pumped to get onto the event. Race morning this year, it is put back to the professionals will be off at 7:15 and approximately 7:18 for guys and girls, and then the mass age group field will be off at 7:30 in the morning. This year, mainly due to the time of sunrise. Last year, a lot of athletes found that it was quite dark and quite hard to see the boys in the morning. So this year, the sun will be up, so it may alter, in terms of your preparation, what goggles you may want to use. I know a lot of people ran a clear goggle last year, where this year, being a little bit after sunrise and the swim taking that 1 to 2 hour time frame, you will be at some stage looking into the sun, so you might want a slight tint in the goggles. Conditions wise, or course wise, firstly, it has gone from a rectangle course to pretty much a figure 4 shape this year. So it'll be straight out off the jetty. Swim start, there's a lot more space this year. So if you're right next to the pier and you're not as comfortable swimming in the masses, maybe start out wider towards the edge of the group. You've got a little bit more space, a few less arms and legs and people pushing you under, and you can settle into a nice rhythm over the first 400 to 800 metres out to the first turn can. From there, conditions-wise, it's fairly protected down there in Frankston. So at 7:30 in the morning, theoretically, it's going to be quite calm conditions. Unless there is a big storm brewing, I'd say that, you're going to be looking at a fairly swimming pool-like swim. The bay itself is quite warm and will be somewhere generally around that 22 to 24 degree mark in there. Okay, once you exit the swim and grab your bags, head through transition and the hustle and bustle and get G'd up by the crowd, you'll head out onto the Eastlink bike course. Now this is, Eastlink is one of those major freeways here in Melbourne, so you're looking at surfaces that are going to be as smooth as a baby's bottom. Last year we saw times, I think that the average or the mean bike time was around a 5:15. You're looking at the professionals riding well under 4.5 hours. A lot of age groupers rode that high 4 hour mark, so the conditions were immaculate. This year, however, there's a very good chance that we may not get a calm day like last year. So if there is a wind blowing, it'll generally be either a side headwind or a side tailwind. So it'll be, again, that's something you need to take into account, whether it be not just pacing wise and effort wise, but also if you're looking at wheel choice, you may not want to run a super deep dish, whether it be at 800 mil on the front. You may just want to dip back to a 400 or a 50 mil deep dish wheel on the front, and there's the disc, the super deep, or just the normal, I guess 404 combination. Again, that'll be something you need to take into account looking into the forecast. I think the major factor, you do have the tunnel. The Eastlink tunnel is a bit of a buzz. There's no wind in there. It is the echoes, the light changes. You get a good roller coaster ride on the way in and a nice gradual climb on the way out. It's nothing to be daunted about. It is just a nice steady climb, and you can pace yourself to come out of it. But I think the biggest thing throughout the Eastlink cycle leg is going to be the back. From watching other athletes last year, there's a lot of people, head down, going for it, hammer and tongs in the first lap, and then by the time they got to the second lap, they're sitting up on their hoods, out of their aero bars, and obviously not as aerodynamic and time saving as what they would like. So whether it be every 15, 20 minutes, set your stopwatch, or just make a conscious effort to stand up out of the seat and maybe ride standing up for a minute. The time you'll lose in riding a minute out of your seat, you'll save in the back end of the cycle leg by still being able to hold your position in the aero bars, rather than spending the last back end of the race or the last 60 kilometres sitting up on the hoods copping the wind. As you re-enter back into Frankston again, the crowd is pretty much electric. You ride straight through town, back down to the foreshore. Don your runners, socks, hats, sunglasses, grab your nutrition, and head out on the Brooks Marathon. This is a very unique course in terms of this. You look at every other Ironman in the world, or most other Ironmans in the world, and it's a multi-lap course, where here at the Asia Pacific Championships, it's a one-directional marathon. You do a short little dogleg out and through town, and then it's pretty much a straight run back to, the iconic area in Melbourne and the tourist destination of St Kilda. Along the way, you're rarely probably further than 200 metres from the ocean at any stage. The first probably 10 to 16 kilometres of the run, you're running down a sort of a major road just down the edge. There is a slight camber to it, so just be conscious to either, I think last year you noticed Cameron Brown running down the gutter or the curb of the road to try and find some flat ground, where Craig Alexander ran up near the cones or the witch's hatch. So it's a matter of just being conscious, more so for, I guess, hips, quads, calves, ankles. So just try in that first section, try and find some flat ground to run on. The second half, once you get to Mordialloc, you jump onto the bike path, and then it's pretty much smooth sailing for home. You can't get lost. It's one of the most scenic parts of the course, I think, from Mordialloc all the way back to St Kilda, and the buzz that just grows from Mordialloc, and the live sites at Black Rock, then another live site as you get to Brighton and closer to home. And the nice part about this course too is, I think, once you get to the 30-kilometre mark, or even as far out as the 25-kilometre mark, you can actually see the finish line. So that energy and buzz will draw you home over that final 10 to 15 kilometres. And then once you cross the line, you hear those famous words, collect your medal, and then go and hug your family and friends. So I hope everyone enjoys the day, has a fun day out there, and remember to smile when you cross the finish line for your photo.